Hi, how you doing? And welcome back to another video on the channel. And we're back with the Premier League previews. The league starts again this weekend, so we've got all the Fantasy League content. Hopefully, you need for restarting your season. So, if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe and like if you'll enjoy the videos. Any support is greatly appreciated, especially for a small channel like ourselves. In terms of Fantasy League, it is important to note that there's now an additional redo league to re-engage players back into fantasy league. So that's handy, especially if you've had a rough start to the league like me. But personally, I'm sticking to improving my original rank and powering through. So cue the epic comeback journey. It starts today. I absolutely needed a 5 week break from this after finishing in the 10 million rank for the 2 game weeks each before the World Cup. But I'm not going to hide away from it. It is what it is. But speaking of the World Cup, thank you for all the support on the mini series. I actually finished about 20k in the world, so absolutely looking to continue that form into the second half of the season. So as you get unlimited transfers for game week 17, I'm combining the usual wildcard video with my own team selection video, as they're essentially going to be the same team. And this video is what I'm thinking of doing with my own team. So we start with teams to target. And the first team we're going to talk about is Chelsea. So no team probably needed the break more than Chelsea. They had no win in five before the World Cup, including losing their last 3 games, but they only lost two in 12 before those. So a lot of their players didn't get past the quarterfinals, so have had a lot of time to recover and are surely raring to go, especially with those good looking fixtures. Next, we've got Man United out from under the shadow of Ronaldo. I especially like them from an attacking point of view with games like Forest, Wolves, and Bournemouth in the first three. I really think they could hit the ground running. Liverpool had mixed results in the first part of the season, but wins against Man City and Spurs show they can still do it. The break for Salah will probably do him the world of good, and he's typically better in the second half of the season anyway. Leicester kept 6 clean sheets in the last 8 before the break. Although they may be having two tricky fixtures to start the restart, they do have some cheap players that you should definitely have in your squad, if only just to enable you to get in more experienced, heavy hitting players elsewhere. So it's a fine line between having a rest and losing momentum, which is exactly what Haaland and Man City face as they restart the league. Of course, they'll have had some friendly games and be prepared for the new fixtures, but Haaland will be expecting to pick up where he left off. And if he fails to score in his first game, then it could be a game of psychology. But you wouldn't bet against him or Man City, to be honest, to pick up where they left off. And he's probably someone you should have in your team alongside other players from Man City. So moving on to teams to avoid, and we start with Arsenal. Fixtures are mixed to start with, and they've got a few injuries to contend with, such as Jesus. But for me, it's how they deal mentally with if they get off to a slow start and struggle for momentum. I like someone like Saka, but I'd wait and see before I triple up on them like I would have done before the World Cup. Second, we have Forest. Great cheap options at the start of the season, but other alternatives are now available, and they've conceded the second most goals in the Premier League. Rough start as well with Man United and Chelsea. I would just stay away. Third is Spurs, and it's more about the fixtures than anything else. Even with that double up, they still play Man City twice. And I know people think Kane will be bothered by his penalty miss, but footballers are trained to deal with these situations. And once he scores or kicks a ball in the Prem, it'll be a distant memory. And I wouldn't avoid Kane as a result, although he'd probably be the only Spurs player I'd go for right now. Next, we've got Wolves at bottom of the league for a reason. 2 wins in 15 and only scored 8 goals in that time. They need to show something to even get a look in. It doesn't really matter who they're playing. They need to actually offer something first to even consider them. Finally, we've got Villa. Looking more solid, but a tough couple of fixtures to begin with. Maybe mean you plan a transfer for one of their players in for game week 19. They've got a nice little run after then, but initially for this first wild card, I would stay away. So there's a few obvious options for captaincy at this to start us off. With about 83% ownership, Haaland almost makes the argument pointless. But blanking in two of his last three, how risky are you feeling? If you need to gain ground, then maybe you look to Salah away at Villa. Although Kane against Brentford, like we just spoke about, is also a shout. And I'm sure he's destined for a penalty in that game and scoring it is Kane anyway. I think someone like Rashford is also in with a chance here, and that's if you're willing to bet against Haaland. This is. You can see my rank there as well, my overall rank there, my game week rank for the last week before the World Cup. Got it on there. Don't need to talk about it loads, but it's important to acknowledge it for when we hopefully have the start of the comeback journey starting this weekend. So onto the team. And if you're like me and you're struggling for team value, you've got to be careful where you pick and choose where the value players come from. I'm happy to go with Fraser Forster in goal, an even cheaper goalie than anyone else. And he's probably going to play if Lloris gets the standard 2 weeks rest after the World Cup. So for me, he's worth getting in as a second keeper and starting him, even just to see. If he doesn't play, then your main keeper will come in anyway. Starting with the defence now, and we've got Cancelo. Maybe not had enough attacking returns or clean sheets, but surely Man City will revert to the mean, especially in the clean sheet section. I think they've conceded way too many than they would do normally, and Cancelo is someone that does have an assist in him and the occasional goal as well. Next, we've got Reece James, and he's due back to full fitness at any point now. Even if he doesn't make game week 17, he shouldn't be too far away. At the start of the season, he was a must have. Everyone was talking about how you should absolutely have Reece James in your team. So if he's back playing again, surely that still stands. He's only about 13% owned as well, which is pretty incredible, really. So if you want to get on him early, I think he could be a great differential. Some players will benefit from being away with the national team, and I feel like Shaw could be one of those. Starting in the World Cup, and he was a real attacking threat in those games, he could easily come back with a new energy and confidence. He started the last seven before the break, so he's pretty certain to start again. I quite like away into Man United defence as well with these first few fixtures they've got. Finally, our last defender, we've got Trent. Liverpool are likely to get a run going early, in my opinion. And I really think there's some value in treating game week 17 as a complete reset and kind of ignoring form before. Only in certain instances, really. And it's risky to do this with an entire team. Um, but you could make allowances, and I think Trent fits the bill. If Liverpool can get their act together, he could have a huge upside, and he's incredibly only 18% owned. This is someone that was like, I'm sure he was about 50, 60% owned at the start of the season. So it's weird to think of as Trent as a differential, but that's what he is right now. Moving on to the midfield, we've got Saka. He continued his great form in the World Cup. He was the joint highest scorer for England, and he actually, for Arsenal, he got 10 attacking returns in the last 11 games leading up to the break. For me, he's an absolute must-have, an incredible value at 8 million. Salah, again, someone who may well have benefited from a break in football. He's played a lot in the last few years, both domestic and international competitions, and we'll be able to tell in the first few weeks whether Liverpool can turn their form around or if they really do miss Mane that much. Still had 10 attacking returns in 16 games, even with him being off form. And just like Trent, he's only 33% owned. And I know someone like Haaland kind of takes the money away when you've got to pick premiums. But for me, seeing that Salah was 33% owned was just incredible, really. I think as a differential, he's worth a shout for sure. Next, we've got Mason Mount, and I'm happy with a Chelsea double up to start with. The fixtures look good, and I'm counting the Man City game in their double with Fulham as a free hit bonus match, where anything extra in that game would be great. Mount started 14 games so far this season, and he's actually Chelsea's highest point scorer as well. So I do think he's someone that will play, and he is an attacking midfielder, so he is going to get those chances with goals and assists. Last midfielder in the starting 11 is Rashford. Played really well at the World Cup, and I'm interested to see what Man United do after the break. If he plays like he did for England, he'll be great, and I think a real confidence boost for him was playing and scoring in the World Cup. Coming in at 6.7 million, I think he has the most upside out of anyone else in that price range, especially in midfield. And he does play further forward up the pitch as well than your usual midfielder. And it's important to remember Man United's good fixtures. Onto the strike range, and we've got Martial here. I do think yeah, I've tripled up on Man United, and yeah, I know he gets injured a lot, and he doesn't always play. All right, I get it, but we were yet to see United without Ronaldo, and they can just get out there and play. There's a space up front for somebody, and I don't see why Martial can't claim it. But I'm fully aware he might be the first transfer out in my team if things don't work out. Obviously, we've got Haaland in here as well. I mean, at 83% ownership, you just need him in. He's ruined captaincy debates, and he'll still score, but I'm not too sure whether he'll score at the same rate as before. Although you don't want to miss out if he does. So it's a definite fear of missing out situation here. If I'd had him in from the beginning, like I was thinking, my season would be completely different. I think I'd have 150 more points, not an exaggeration. But that's just how it is, and we roll with it. And he's in now anyway, so at least I can't fall further behind. So onto the bench, and we've got Ward here. He's been riding my bench all season, and to be honest, I've missed out on basically all his points. He actually scored quite well before the break. And after game week 18, he's got Fulham, Forest, Brighton, and Villa. And it's not a problem to put him in and forget about it, to be honest. Especially as we said earlier, 6 clean sheets in the last 8 before the World Cup. I've started Fraser Forster, but as we talked about, if he doesn't play, Ward would come in instead. Patterson, Everton have some mixed fixtures, but he could be the new cheap defender. He's only 4 million, and he played 90 minutes for 7 games in a row at the start of the season. I'm happy to play him when the fixtures are right and not when they aren't. And to be honest, Wolves at home is a pretty good fixture for Everton, so there is a potential for him to be subbed in. I'll have some thinking to do on the final starting 11 rather than just the overall squad. But I do think he's great value there. Andreas is a fantastic value and has staked a claim to be in most people's starting 11s rather than just on the bench. He's always good for an assist, and he scored against Man City, which showed he doesn't always need good fixtures to contribute. Finally, we've got Greenwood, the cheapest striker there that he occasionally plays. My bench is very cheap overall, but there should be someone in that bench each week who plays and can come in if needed and maybe even contribute. And you very rarely need your third bench option anyway. So, just to round off the video, we've got some top tips here. And the first one is to take a look at form. But form isn't everything. If you've had a big break before game week 17 like these players have, maybe that benefited a team instead, and they're able to reset. And some teams, like we said, might lose momentum, but it's the same for players as well. And if you've been watching the World Cup, who looked good and who could continue that form into the Premier League? And then the final bit is, teams and league positions will probably level out. We've had quite a small sample size, not even half a season leading up to this point. So can teams like um, Arsenal and Newcastle keep it going, or will Liverpool, Man United, and Chelsea get back to form? Teams like Fulham, Brighton, and Brentford, they're in the top half at the moment, but they may struggle to finish top half now they've got to get going again. As usual, things level out with a larger sample size, so we really do have to look at the quality of the squads moving forward. And rather than those 3 teams, I'd be more tempted for Villa and Leicester players, especially after Villa get those tough fixtures out of the way. So let me know what you think about my team. Have I missed anyone out? It's great to be back to Premier League content, and thank you for all the support. Really do appreciate it. Subscribe if you're new around here. Like the video if you like the content. Appreciate it all, and I will see you in the next one.